What's up, fam? Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a great summer already. I don't know what you got going on at your church, but here at the Simplified Church podcast, we have a lot going on. And we continue each week to bring you this kind of content designed to help everyday pastors just like you, everyday leaders just like you in the trenches of ministry. But seriously, I hope you're having a great summer. I'm with my man Greg, as always, catching up. And I see that Greg has been avoiding the sun um, pretty faithfully. I don't know what he's going on. You just walk around with an umbrella out there, or what's going on? Do you just
Yeah,
not tan?
I have one of those brockabrellas. You know what
Wait,
I'm
is
talking
that the
about?
little the headband with the umbrella on top?
Yes. I just wear
There's a
that all the
name
time.
for that?
Yeah, it's a brockabrella.
Say it again.
Brockabrella.
Brockabrella.
Mm-hmm.
Man, either you're very convincing, or that's the actual name of it because I'm real tempted to believe you. A
Hey,
Brockabrella. I had no clue there was an actual name for that thing. I've always
I
ever
don't
just described it as a headband with a tiny umbrella.
I don't know if they call it that other places, but in St. Louis, that's what it is.
It's
Um,
so popular, there's a regional name for it.
yeah,
I
well,
like
okay,
that,
so
man.
Lou Brock, a
Oh,
famous
okay.
cardinal, um, it it's in his honor. Check your messages. Um,
Okay. So
I
you've
just sent
sent
you
me some substantiated data. Oh man, we've got a I may have to drop a link for this in the show notes,
hey,
just
it's a
for other
thing.
people to be impressive to their own friends. You ain't kidding. That's official. The
Yeah,
Brockabrella. Man.
yeah. They
Okay.
give
Well,
them
God bless
away
him.
at the ballpark at least once a year.
Well,
For one of their giveaway nights for the Cardinals, and so there you go. But yeah, so I rock the
um,
Brockabrella, and
okay.
no, actually, I really don't have one, but I do try to hide as much as possible.
Sure.
And Mike, that when we have the beautiful bald domes that we have, like
Yeah.
I have the moisturizer with the built-in SPF 5000
Oh, there you go. There's
that
nothing
I
wrong with
that I
that.
wear every day.
You know.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Keeping yourself protected.
that's it. That's it.
That's all right.
Trying to stay away from the
Are you
big
having
C.
a are you having a gosh. You're hiding from the church. Are you having a good summer? Just out there hiding.
That's right.
Are you having a good summer so far though?
Yeah, man, things are really good. It's been a wild few weeks between Bible school and summer camps. We sent our oldest and mom to summer camp for third through sixth graders a couple of weeks ago, and that was really
Awesome.
good.
Yeah.
She had a blast, and then last week I was at student camp teaching incoming juniors for the week about the uh, the importance of the kingdom and how the kingdom
Cool.
should um, be the lens through which we view everything. And so that was a whole lot of fun. And now it's back to the grind and it's budget time reality. But yeah, all in all, things are super busy, but really, really good. Enjoying a lot of the summer kind of things. We decided to do season tickets to the St. Louis Muni, the
Oh, there you
municipal
go.
opera group.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're looking forward to seeing some really good shows this summer. And so yeah, it's been
Yeah,
good. And you?
that's an outdoor
Oh,
venue, isn't it?
it is. It is. It's not far from the St. Louis Zoo. It's a beautiful venue. It can be hot. We saw Les Mis 2 weeks ago. It was stupid hot, and the shows don't start till 8, so it can be dark, or at least starting to get dark, and it was still stupid hot. So
Yeah,
there you
I
go.
don't understand the appeal of that. They can put those shows on inside where there's like we don't have to do
Well,
that anymore. You know what I mean? Like we've come pretty far as a society and a culture where we can move this whole like all this action, we can take it indoors, you know?
that's true, but
I don't understand that.
there's something about it. Um, so there you go. But yeah, what about things happening in your neck of the woods?
Man, it has been a really good summer here, dude. We sent our oldest two with their youth group to a week of camp as well. So they had a great time, man. Came back and just on fire, ready to rock it, which is always, as a dad, that's super exciting to see. But yeah, man, just gearing up. We got vacation this year. We haven't been on vacation in a while, and so we got a trip I'm very much looking forward to. With got a
Which
standing date with me and the beach.
Oh, I thought you were going to Comic-Con. I was going to ask
That's
which one.
that's not a vacation, my friend. That's work. Okay, okay. That's got to keep your head on a swivel. You get all kinds of deals, celebrities, autographs to procure. That's work, my friend. No, I got a standing date with the beach, so we're looking forward to that. But no, it's been good, man. Like, I've really been enjoying just family and stuff this summer, and we did a bunch of yard work yesterday, and like I blew out my right arm just weed eating and raking and stuff and cleaning up just junk. But no, it was good, man. The whole family was working in the yard yesterday. It was super cool. It was
All
fun to
right.
watch. But
So should we
um,
hear that as you guys getting ready for installing your own backyard golf game that you were telling us about a few weeks ago?
dude, I'm telling you, bucket golf is a game changer. Now, I don't have enough yard space to really make that game shine, but you could set out probably two, maybe three holes out there and have a pretty decent time. Probably two would be maybe adequate, but it is a lot of fun. Well, actually, what we're trying to do is gear up for Fourth of July, and because I've got some fireworks I want to set off and upset the whole neighborhood.
And you want to
But
make sure you don't burn down your house, so you had to get all the
ideally, yeah, I want to get
all,
all
all
the
the dry.
foliage, yeah, all the dried up foliage out of the way. I'm walking around the backyard going, that'll burn that part of the house down, and well, that'll set the deck on fire. So probably not gonna do that. But it's been good, man. It's been really good, and just I'm excited, man. For yeah, I'm excited for the fall to get kind of. I'm enjoying the summer for sure, but get back in the swing of things, and I know that for a lot of pastors and leaders, they're in that place too, where trying to strike the balance of staying engaged during the summer. We talked about that, like how to keep your church engaged, how to keep your congregation active. So there's that balance of like wanting to enjoy family, wanting to enjoy rest. Some pastors even take sabbatical. They take extended time off in the summer to kind of recharge and think about the where they're heading next year as a church from a vision perspective. But also one of the things that we have to begin thinking about and prepping for as we work in the summer and utilize this season as a time for preparation and planning is thinking about our church's placement in our community.
Mhm.
Like how are we actively engaging? How are we showing up in our community? And just like every fall, there's an opportunity to reimagine programming, launch new initiatives, roll out new ideas, fresh ideas as a means to engage and grow and deepen the depth of relationships and gospel centrality and knowledge within our congregations. There should also be a renewed focus and really a renewed passion for reimagining connection with the community, because sometimes we just kind of fall in those ruts. When you think about kind of ruts that churches fall into with regard to engaging their community, and maybe that's like you can speak to this from your church's perspective or what you've seen in your community or even past experiences. But what are some of those ruts that maybe you think are kind of low hanging fruit, kind of easy temptation for churches with regard to being connected to their community?
Sure. I think some of them that just kind of jump off right at the start to me are um, like, well, we just throw money at stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
oh yeah, we sponsor this um, summer event. There's a like in our town, there's a homecoming event. That's kind of a big deal. And so, well, we just we'll sponsor it. We'll put our name on it. That's our community engagement kind of stuff.
oh yeah, names on the t-shirt,
Um,
we're there.
right. Um, or like I know for some churches, it's well, we did Bible school, but like we hosted the event. We expected everyone to come to us, and that's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, or things like, well, um, we hosted this event at our place, and we did this at our place, and we did this at our place. Even though there are good things like, hey, we did a barbecue, and we had we had inflatable games, and whatever. Those aren't bad things, but like always expecting folks to come to you, to
Hmm.
campus,
Yep.
and missing those opportunities to go out and be in the community and engage and do some stuff. And any of those things by themselves, I don't think are bad.
Right.
But I think when you're looking to just hit the easy button, and I just showed my age because, is that even still a thing?
I've seen them
Um,
floating around out there.
but
There's much of a thing as Staples is a thing.
well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So yeah,
Um,
there's that.
Nostalgia, right?
Yeah,
There's
man.
probably a market for those easy buttons now that
Yeah.
they're not readily available. But like for those that aren't simply looking for that easy way out, trying to double down and say, okay, what are real ways that we can not only leverage our campus for engaging our community, but
Yeah.
also get our people out into the community to engage the community and to leverage those relationships that our people already have.
Yeah, and it's so easy to fall into those ruts, man, like you're saying, and it's so easy to just be tempted to say, yeah, we're just going to throw money at that, and we're going to host events here, we're going to invite the community at large, and I mean, we'll do like what everybody else does when they're trying to get people onto their into their facility or onto their campus and stuff like that, and I like that I appreciate this because what you're not trying to throw shade on that, like as though let's not do those things. Like I appreciate you saying, hey, those aren't bad things, but that's let's not confuse that necessarily with community engagement. To me,
Exactly.
that's engagement follow up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the traps we fall into. Is we either do one of two things: we either create events in the space that already presumes relationship with community, right? Or we create relationship with community, but then don't create follow up opportunities to engage those relationships.
That's good.
And so we don't we churches for whatever reason really struggle with that tension. And I think it's important to recognize that is a tension to be managed. That's not a problem you're ever going to solve because the needs, the way that we engage those needs, the way that we show up in our communities, that's going to change over time.
For
And
sure.
so you have to kind of manage that tension of it a little bit. But what I think is so interesting is how churches could utilize this time in the summer to reimagine that conversation. And one of the ways that I think we can like really connect our churches in our communities is to begin relationships with the people that have influential voices in our communities, people that kind of have a pulse, and maybe folks that, I mean, if I can just be real transparent and maybe even a little provocative here, even folks that maybe we don't necessarily align ourselves with morally or
Mm-hmm.
politically or even from a perspective of values, but identifying those people that have a really prominent voice, an important voice, and have a strong pulse in the community. Because having those relationships and conversations, even if it's a lunch or a coffee, it allows us to do a couple things. One is it allows us to earn some favor, not be seen maybe in a way that we think we were seen or we assume that we're seen, um, but allows us to earn some favor,
Mm-hmm.
and then also it begins a conversation, and we can then utilize that time to get a greater sense of what are the needs in our community and how can we engage those. And so I think sometimes beginning a relationship with influential people in our community allows us to connect with our community. And I don't know, like, do you think there's merit? And again, some people are going to wrestle with this, man. And I'm not trying to like start a fire here, but I think some folks are going to wrestle with the idea of trying to create any sort of relationship with people that maybe sit on the different side of morality and the Bible or even Jesus. or even from our values. Like, is there merit in that, do you think, in terms of connecting with community?
I think so. And I think we have to just ensure that on both our own personal understanding of it and the understanding of our church is that we're clear in it that our aim is not political jockeying.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Our aim is relational development for the ability really and truly to share the gospel with those folks, but to also then be able to have enough relational equity that even if they know that we categorically are opposed to some of their actions, some of their beliefs, to know that we're available and that we're around when something blows up in the community,
Yeah,
when there's an overwhelming need that the government can't meet, or that as soon as you started talking, my mind went to schools,
yeah, man.
went to principals, assistant principals, superintendents, assistant superintendents, that kind of level of engagement where it's not politically driven, it's not what can we get out of the deal, but
For sure.
more positioning ourselves in a place where we can actually be helpful
Hmm.
in engaging our community. Because I don't know if it's true where you are, but in the overwhelming borderline bougie community that I live in, like, but like more like farmer bougie.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, I don't know if I think we just have $1 million idea. I don't know what to do with it yet, but bougie farmer could be,
.com.
yeah, bougiefarmer.com could be, oh, we got a clothing line. All right, track with me here. We got a clothing line. We've got some weird like farm wine. I'm not sure what it's made of yet, but
Corn.
we've got a corn wine, super popular. Uh, we've got stickers, we've got shirts, we've got magnets, we've got hats. The bougie farmer. Anyway, sorry. I just saw an opportunity and I
Hey,
decided to
let's
run
make
with
it let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. But in our community, like, we have to hunt for opportunities to meet needs in our community, because
Yeah.
they are not always readily visible.
Hmm.
And so we're in the middle of the process of trying to build those relationships and make those connections so that hey, if you guys know of needs that we don't know of, let us know. Let's see how we can be connected and come alongside and be able to serve families and engage our community in a deeper way. Because the reality is, some of the greatest ways to engage the community is to find ways to meet not just perceived needs, but real needs.
Oh, for sure, man.
And so, if there are ways to leverage that and to engage your people, and to connect them with the community, and leverage leadership in your community to do that, I think that can be huge. And again, just going back to that reality of being sure that we don't fall into the trap of making it political, or making it some kind of a power play. But instead, no, our objective, our goal is simply to engage these folks,
Yep.
so that we have opportunity to influence them, and then be really careful. Hey, if those folks start coming to your church, and they connect to your church, hey, great, but be careful that appearance doesn't become, oh, so we're only just trying to get those folks in your church. So you can't stop as soon as those folks come to your church and plug in. Like, as far as if the mayor starts coming to your church, you can't stop. You got to keep engaging community leaders, or people are going to see through that and be like, oh, that was really just a marketing ploy to try to get some big name in town to come to your church.
Yeah, and I've seen that. I've seen that work really well too. And because there's definitely going to be, I think, folks listening that will say, man, that makes me nervous. I think it makes our church nervous. And here's the thing, like I've seen this work personally really well, where you've got churches where, man, like the chief of police and the mayor, and you've got aldermen or council members,
Mhm.
or you've got superintendents, like you've got folks that are pretty ingrained in the community, that are attending that church. And I've seen it work really well to where, it's not an opportunity to get yard signs out and man, I'm just gonna swing by this ice cream social the church is having and just glad hand a little bit, or let me just get and buy all the pork for the annual barbecue, and let me just speak for a few minutes. Like
Right.
I've seen it to where there's a respectable balance where pastors and leaders can engage them as regular congregants, as regular
For sure.
members of that body, and treat them as sheep and be their shepherds, and it not be this tension, or kind of get, pseudo starstruck because there's this important political figure that's now attending their church. I've seen that work really well, and it can and it should work really well because those political leaders in your church or in your community, you want them at your church
For sure.
because you want them to have a relationship with the Lord. Like your community gets infinitely better day one, the moment that Jesus saves any of those people and brings
Sure.
them into the fold of your church. You know,
100%.
like it just gets infinitely better.
Yeah, my statement just is regarding keep engaging your community even after those folks connect to your
Oh
church.
yeah, for sure. And you don't
So
want
that it,
people that look just like you, or presumably vote just like you either. You
exactly.
know?
But also so that it doesn't ever become the appearance of, oh, well, you really only wanted to connect with the community to get the movers and shakers
Oh yeah, so we
in
can
your
be
church.
that church.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right. You absolutely can have some big name community figures in your church and still be um, be a big influencer, but not impacted and starstruck by their being part of your church.
Yeah, and the power they have and how you can
Exactly.
leverage it for, because that's the last thing you want too is in your engagement in the community, you don't want the community beginning to look at your church as like, oh, that's interesting. They got that plot of land out there that, my parents were trying to buy because they wanted to move their shop out there, but we were told that it wasn't available, and all of a sudden the church puts a future home site
Right.
sign on the property. And what just so happens, the mayor or the city planner goes to their church. Like
Right.
you have and man, to Greg's point, like you have to be careful of that tension, but that's worth exploring for the betterment of your community for the sake of the gospel. So I mean, pursuing relationships is really a great place to start. I would say, in addition to pursuing influential relationships in your community, I think secondly, a great way to connect to your community, man, and I'd be curious to see what you think about this, but it is to leverage the folks within your congregation. Like this doesn't have to be something that necessarily the pastors or elders or deacons of your whatever your structure is. It doesn't have to be relegated specifically to them. Chances are you've got people in your church that already maybe have some of those relationships. Whether they're connected to a school board or they're super involved in the PTA. Maybe you have a volunteer firefighter or you have a police officer. Like you may have some of those, even civil service, teachers, educators, politicians within your church.
Dog
And
catcher.
the dog catcher.
Does that still even exist?
I don't know, man. Gosh, I hope so. You know, like just LinkedIn profile. You
Yeah.
know,
If you're a dog catcher, please blow up the comments. We want to know, does that job still exist?
yeah. I think it's now it has more of like a bougie title, like animal or warden or animal. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I love the idea of dog catcher. What do you do? I'm a dog catcher. It just
But that wouldn't
dress.
fly in my bougie farming metropolis.
No, it would not.
So we'll have to come
Unacceptable.
up with a name for that. Next
But
time, I'll have a name for us.
perfect. I love that, man. We'll put it on the hat. But I think it's a great opportunity to, as we're thinking about how we want to meet the needs in our community, is we engage the people within our church and turn them loose in that, because there are
Sure.
people that would love to be on that team, that would love to serve in that way. And I don't know, like within your church, do you have people that have natural connections within your community?
They do. The hard part has been mining that information.
Okay. Yeah. No, this is good because that's going to be a struggle I think a lot of people have.
Being able to dig in and know who connects with who, and what kind of relational equity they have. And so, yeah, like, we have some people who they grew up here. They've lived here for 30, 40, 50 years or more. And so they know everybody and they have connections to everybody. And so trying to leverage that has been really helpful for us. The other thing, like, um, it's been helpful to kind of dive in and find out who's the small business owner.
Yeah, that's really good.
Um, we've gone back and forth as a church whether or not we're part of the Chamber of Commerce. We've kind of we've done it, we've not done it, we've done it again, it just kind of goes in cycles. But I think that can be a really helpful thing.
Yeah,
Um,
great way to meet people.
to be, if the chamber is doing stuff where you can
Yes.
meet people. And that's generally what causes us to either be involved or not be involved.
Yes, based on activity. Yeah.
Uh-huh. But that can be super helpful. But yeah, figuring out who is meeting people, who's engaging with people, and figuring out how to leverage that is huge, and it can be hard work to get some of that information, and be
Yeah.
able to then begin to figure out how to leverage it. But I think you're 100% right that when you can paint a picture for your people to say, hey, we want to find creative ways to engage our community, and one of the ways that we want to do that is by um, taking care of our teachers. Um, you'll have people sign up to be part of that.
Yep.
You just will. And it won't be like pulling teeth. You'll have people who say, I want to be part of that because I know that what they do, it matters. And I want to encourage them. I want to engage them. I want to fill in the blank. And so some of it is just presenting the opportunities to our people in a meaningful way, so that they will sign on to be part of. But I think you're 100% right that people, there are people in our congregation who want nothing more than to connect with people in the community, because they want to see them come to know Jesus. But they might not be the person who wants to go and knock on people's doors and be like, hey, why don't you come to church?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's not their thing.
And that's okay.
Exactly.
And it's matching people with comfort level, skill set, all that kind of good stuff. And man, to your point, a simple initiative for this is as easy as, okay, hey, we're doing a big back to school initiative where we're going to be taking care of some teachers. We have two requests this morning, or over the next couple of weeks. The first is this: if you want to be a part of helping bless some teachers, there's a QR code on the screen. Get your phone out or use your response card and let us know, or you can register online, whatever. We'd love to have you part of that team. The second thing is, if you are an educator locally, or if you're connected with the school in any way, we're going to be meeting in the back of the auditorium immediately after service. I would love to spend 5 minutes with you. So if that's you this morning, a simple next step for you is just meet me in the back of the auditorium right after service, because I would love to connect with you for just a few moments. And it's just that simple, to where you're giving people who want to be involved but aren't connected, and people who are connected, a chance to get involved. Exactly. And that is such an easy thing to do, that if we're trying to mine information, or I mean, you could even go even a step further and just say, hey, all summer long, as you guys are traveling and you're at church, maybe you're gone, whatever, all summer long, though, we're going to be asking people to, we've got a special form that we've sent out via email. We'll have a QR code on the screen each weekend. We're going to talk about it for just a minute every Sunday throughout the summer, but we're just trying to collect information on how people are engaged in our local community. And so we would love for you to fill that out. If you haven't done so, it's 4 questions, it's 5 questions. It'll take you, I did it. It took me 3 minutes. So if you could do that for us, that'd be super great. Like there's an easy way you can, gather that information. You just got to be intentional with it and just make people understand that, hey, we're starting some new initiatives. We want your help. This is the first step. And
Sure.
people get excited about that kind of stuff.
So let's run it down just for a second to be super practical. So what are the questions that we'd want to ask if we're saying, hey, we want to find out some information about this? What are the 4 or 5 questions that we're asking to gather that information?
Yeah, and again, it's all going to come down to how you are hoping to engage within your community. Like, what are some of those initiatives? But
Sure.
even if you're just trying to gather a baseline so you can begin, schools are a great place to begin that baseline, right? So you could first and foremost, you could just on that first question is, are you a student or do you have a student in the local school system? Okay. Second question could be, are you a small business owner? Or are you connected to a small business owner in our community? Right. Third question could be like, are you working as a civil servant within our community, or do you have a relative that's a civil servant in our community? And that could be everything from somebody working at town hall as an office clerk to and you can add those little examples, to a police officer or a dispatcher. It could be anything like that. Fourth question is, could be as simple as, have you been involved in meeting needs or working with organizations that meet needs in our community before? If so, which organizations are those? It could be as simple as those 4 questions. And you can tailor them or shape them ever how you want. But those 4 questions will give you a baseline, and it'll tell you it'll tell you some stuff. Number one, it'll tell you, man, who do you have sitting at your church, and who do they have natural relationships with or connections to, that can help you maybe get a leg up and start a conversation. Second, it'll tell you whether or not like you actually have people in your church that are connected to the community.
Sure.
Because if you get 100 responses and 80% of the answers are no or 1 or 2, it's like, well, holy cow, we've got work to do.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely that information will help you understand. But ever how you tailor those, I think those are 4 simple categories from organizations that meet needs to civil servants to small business owners and schools. Like those 4 areas, man, that will definitely create the chain reaction that you need to track down relationships and begin conversations.
Sure.
And so I think that could be super helpful. And I think just as we land the plane, the last thing I would say, and you talked about this briefly, but I think just to kind of circle back and reiterate, is not just talking about perceived needs, but like actual needs within your community. Like, I think it's worthwhile for every church to spend some time with their leadership team, talking through what are the pain points that exist within our community. Like, what are those? And let's talk about those. And let's bring data to the table that supports that. Let's just not say, well, it seems like, but rather like, no, man, I've done some digging. I've made some phone calls. And yeah, this is a real pain point that we have. And allow that conversation to really help shape those initiatives in ways that you want to reimagine how you connect with your community.
Sure.
Because, man, there might be problems going on in your community that everyone knows is a problem, but no one's really doing anything other than throwing some money at an annual 5K or sending a few volunteers to a food pantry a couple times a year.
Right.
And that's your way of trying to help it. But man, if drugs are a problem in your community, then how can your church take a proactive role in meeting that legitimate pain point?
Sure.
And that will definitely steer how you use the information you gather and the initiatives that you create. I'm not saying it's going to be easy at all, but I do think churches have a responsibility to show up and attempt to fight alongside all of those who seek to do good in their community.
For sure.
I think we have an obligation to that. But that would be the kind of the last thing I would say. That what would you add to that conversation? Like, how would you encourage pastors in that way?
Yeah, I think just additionally, do something.
Amen, dude.
Like, I don't know that it matters even in this moment what that something is.
Yeah, for real. If you're not doing anything,
Just do something.
just do something.
and see what God might do.
Yeah,
Because
start somewhere.
I think for myself, it's true, and I'm sure it's true for others. Like sometimes I get so lost in the development stage and trying to solve all the problems and make sure it's going to work and going to be excellent, and we end up not doing anything.
Yep.
So just do something.
Yeah.
And then see what God might do in and through it along the journey.
Yeah, because honestly, man, that if you just get together and say, hey, we're gonna start somewhere, we're gonna get better at this down the road, but we're just gonna get started this fall, and we're gonna pray together, and I'm gonna pick up the phone and I'm gonna call every school, and the first principal I get on the phone, I'm just gonna say, hey, can we go to coffee? I want to know how our church can help your teachers. We're not looking to come in and say anything. We're not looking to cause a problem. We just want to come help your teachers.
For sure.
Man, the first principal says, I would love to have coffee with you. Buckle up.
Yeah.
Because
And
God's
they
gonna
will.
do something. Yeah.
And they will. Like,
Yeah.
especially if you lead with we're not pushing an agenda.
Yeah. We just want to help. Man, I've never met a principal. It's like, actually, we're good. We don't need anything. Budget's great. Classrooms are stocked, fully staffed, really. I've never heard that.
Nope.
But yeah, just begin somewhere. Call the local fire department. Call the police station. You just never know. But I love that, man. That's such a great final word on that, is to just do something. But hopefully this helps you guys. Thinking about connecting with your community. Hopefully it begins sparking some conversations. Our encouragement is take this episode, share it with other folks on your team, use it as a baseline to say, hey, we're going to come back together. And after we've all listened to this, we're going to take some notes. We're going to come together. We're going to start that conversation and see how we can begin engaging our community in a fresh, new way. Even as early as this fall. Like, this isn't something it's not rocket science, but you could spend the month of July getting this thing knocked out. So that's our hope for you guys, is for this to be a tool and a resource for all you everyday leaders and pastors out there. Just know we're pulling for you. We're definitely praying for you. We know how hard it is, how lonely it can be, how exhausting it can be, which is why we are faithfully executing this resource for you all, is to help even virtually create a sense of community. As Greg said earlier, and he said it with such joy in his voice, is it's almost budget time. And I don't know if you heard that, but it is for a lot of churches. You're beginning that process. We would love at Simplified Church to help you with that process. We know it can be daunting, overwhelming, exhausting, and dare I say, boring. We know that's the reality, and we can help outsource all the things that overwhelm you with regard to your budgeting and your budgeting process at your church to, really increase generosity, make things run smoother. We would love to have that conversation. You can set up a demo call just heading over to our website, simplifiedchurch.com, and we would love to begin a conversation. Otherwise, we are so thankful that you're here, that you're listening. Make sure you connect with us on social media. Head over to the website. Check us out on Facebook. And as always, we're praying for you, and we'll see you next week.